Hey folks, welcome back. I'm David and we're here in my shop where I build Ewor guitars. This is going to be the third episode in my new series on building the Ewor Stingray. That's the Fender Meteora looking guitar that I'm going to be making. So anyway, in the last video we went ahead and we started working on our body blanks, and we've got our two core pieces made up. That's these guys right here. We got the cores and the tops and the backs all planed to a perfect thickness, and then I went ahead and glued on my this is white oak, a fumed white oak that I glued on the front and back of the thing, and that's going to be our two cool little stripes going all the way around the edge of the guitar. Now in this video we're going to start working on the top and the back, because now that core is an inch thick, so I'm going to have a 3/8 top and a 3/8 back, and that's what these two guys here are. Now we prepped them all last week. We got them perfectly flat, square, parallel, and they're in great shape. And now we've got to resaw them down for the right thickness, replane them, get them glued up, and then on the top we're going to use this piece of Zero Coat here. We also have to thin this down. It's just under an inch thick, and we're going to get, I'll probably get two pieces 1/4 inch thick out of it, and then a remaining piece a little bit thinner than that. And that's going to make our really cool looking pickguard shape, which is this guy right here. And this is, we're going to hopefully get this glued in this episode too. And this is, I'm going to use a V-carve operation on the CNC machine. If you can see, the edge of this is V'd out. So we're going to make a pocket in the top that's V-shaped like so. We're going to mill this upside down out of the piece of Zero Coat, and it'll flip over and it should glue in there, and it should give me a perfect fit along that edge. So anyway, that's what we're going for. So what I got to do first is I'm going to have to resaw these tops down to get them to the right thickness, and then get rolling with it. So let's go over the bandsaw and get going with that right now. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to check and make sure that my blade, I've set the height already for my board to fit right under my roller, so that's a good height for the part of the bandsaw here. Now I want to check and make sure that my blade is perfectly square with the top, and that looks really good. And so now I want to set the blade. The top and the back is going to wind up being 3/8 of an inch thick. Of course, this blade takes out probably a 1/16 when it cuts, and my board here is right at an inch thick. So I think by the time I take out, if I split it right down the middle, so a 1/2 inch right in the center, that'll give me about enough room to plane out any of my bandsaw marks and everything. And I should wind up with a really nice 3/8 of an inch top. So, okay, that looks really good. Top and bottom of the blade. I think that looks great. Okay, so both of those sets came out really nice. I am very close in thickness right here. A little bit off there. If I flip it around this way, I mean, it's like really, really close. They're off. They're not exactly the same, but I didn't think they would be. But anyway, so I'm very happy with that. It's everything went really well on those. But now I've got to cut this piece of Zero Coat, which Zero Coat is a heck of a lot harder than black cherry. So I'm gonna narrow it up a little bit. I'm gonna cut these. I'll ultimately want about a 1/4 inch thick. I'm probably gonna go a little bigger than 5/16 to start with, and just to make sure I don't waste any of this wood. So anyway, I'm gonna reset the blade and we're gonna run this guy. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with that. That Zero Coat cut better than I was expecting. I mean, I got a really decent thickness out of the thing. Just a shade over 5/16 with this piece. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one over to my surface sander, and I'm going to flatten this back off here, the bandsaw marks here. So I'll take my next piece out of the piece that would match this. I don't think I'm actually going to need to glue these two together, but just as good practice, I'm going to go ahead and do it as though they were book matched pieces, because boy, that is beautiful. Anyway, so I'm going to run this over the surface sander real quick, run that through, and then I'll be back here at the bandsaw in a minute, and we're going to cut out our next piece. Okay, so here's what we got so far. We've got wound up with a really nice top here, got a great thickness, nice consistent cut. That'll make a perfect top, and I got the same thing on the back. You know, the key with resawing this wood down and having it come out nice and straight like that, because I've done it the other way too, but the real key is making sure that your boards are absolutely flat, no twist. All that stuff we did in the last video allowed us to go ahead and cut these down and have it come out real nice. That, and you have a good blade in the bandsaw too. I use Timberwolf blades, which are very good blades on the bandsaw. But anyway, so I got my top and back, and these are both they're right at a 1/2 inch, just a little bit under a 1/2 inch thick. By the time I get them planed down a little bit, glued up, and then run them through the surface sander, I want to get it down to 3/8 of an inch, which looks like we're good on that. And this piece of Cerakote came out awesome. I've got this last remaining piece left over is just over 1/8 of an inch thick, and it's beautiful. That's great for headstock caps and stuff like that. And I could maybe use it for cavity control covers in the back. Anyway, so that's great. And then I've got my two tops here, or the two pieces that are they're both at 5/16 of an inch thick, so it's still a little bit thicker than I need them, but I could plane them down. Now the thing I'm dealing with is, boy, that comes up with as a beautiful top right there. I mean, that's just I hope you can see it good in the camera. That's really book matched as much as I could get this piece book matched. It's a beautiful top. And the thing is, my piece I want to cut out of one of these, it fits on one piece. But the deal is, the grain is kind of going to be running at an uphill sort of a thing. Let's see, this will go like that, and the grain will kind of be running uphill. But this is such wild grain, you know. The other way to do that would be to glue them together and cut this part out like so. But that sure does eat up a lot of that beautiful wood. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this one part out of this piece, and I'll orient it way down at the bottom so I still have some free stuff up here, some wood up there left over. And this other one, that is wide enough. I can make 3 really nice fretboards out of that. And it's 5/16 of an inch thick, so it's a perfect thickness to start with a fretboard. Anyway, so I'm thrilled to death. I think that's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these over to my surface sander now and run them through and get all these surfaces cleaned up and get them thickness down to the right thickness I need. Okay, so all of our pieces came out really nice. We got them nicely thickness down. We've got them planed up and everything and sanded a little bit, so they're in great shape, and they're still a tad thicker than we're going to want them. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to have to get these center joints dressed out really nice and get these guys glued up. So the best way I found to get a joint prepared and ready for glue up is with the shooting board. So I'm going to go ahead and get that camera around here. We're going to turn it down, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to get these joints joined up, and we're going to get these guys glued together. Okay, so I've already oriented my pieces. I've decided which side is facing up and which two pieces go together, and I've got them marked out here on the front. So I know that these are the two edges I need to join up to get them fitting right. And so that's what we're going to do. So my shooting board is just a very simple thing. I'm sure you've seen them 1,000 times on YouTube. It's just a simple plate that kind of hooks to the edge of my bench, and it's got a little stopper up here. And I have a number 5 bench plane, and I sharpened it up last time I used it, so it's still in good shape. And it has a very nice, the bottom of the plane is perfectly square with the side of the plane. So these guys work great on that. So I'm just going to hold it up against here, hold my piece down, and take a nice pass at it. Another one. I can see it was a little bit beveled. Nice, see how it's getting that nice ribbon out of there? I think we'll go ahead and do one more, although that was pretty darn consistent. Let me go ahead and take one more. Nice. Okay, that looks good. Now let's try this other guy. Flip it around that way. Okay, 3 passes. I got a real nice clean ribbon off of that. I don't see any holes in it or anything, so that means that that was a really clean cut. See that thing? Okay, well, let's see how these guys fit together. I mean, that thing is perfect. I just love using a plane for this. That beats any other way that I know about. I love it. That is perfect. Those two guys are good to go. So now that we've got all these pieces glued together and set to go, there are certain things I'm going to want to do on these parts prior to me gluing them together. So different CNC operations I want to do before I glue these things together into a solid body. Some things we're going to do after it's glued up, and some things we're going to do before. Like for instance, if I want to chamber this body, I need to do that before I glue it together. I'll probably cut in my some of my control cavity. I'll cut that in while it's all apart like this. And I'm also I want to recess in my piece of zero coat here as the pickguard portion of this thing. That I want to do too before I get this glued up into a body as well. So the trick in doing that is making sure I can put all 3 of these pieces onto that CNC machine in the exact same way each time. And I want them to be able to lay in there exactly the same way each time, whether it's right side up or it's upside down or just whatever. And so this is how I figured out how to do this. I've made myself this is a body fixture. I call it a body fixture. It's basically just a piece of MDF. It's about 1 inch wider and it's about 2 inches longer than my actual body blanks themselves. And I've got 2 aluminum pins sticking out of it right here. And down in this corner, I've got a 1/4 inch hole that's my XY0. I'm going to take you over to the computer real quick and try to explain this, how this is going to help me keep everything in perfect alignment, and then we'll come on back and we'll get rolling with it. Well, on this drawing, you can see I have a circle here, a dotted line circle, and a dotted line circle here, and one down here. These two are 3/8 inch holes, and this one is a 1/4 inch hole. And you can see this one is exactly on these crosshairs right here, which is the XY0 for all the tool paths on this design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these on my fixture board. I'm going to drill a 3/8 hole in this location and one in this location and put in a 3/8 aluminum pin. And then I'm going to use this same exact tool path to cut the 3/8 hole into my body blank here and this one down here. So every time I put my body blank back onto that alignment fixture, it is going to line up in exactly the same spot every time, whether it's right side up, upside down, or if I put just the middle portion on there first. It's always going to be exactly the same alignment. So when this fixture is dropped onto that CNC machine, and I use this edge, I line it up against my fence, which is locked onto the bed of the CNC machine, I should have perfect alignment every time. Put my body parts I'm working on here, set the 1/4 inch bit, set the gantry is at my XY0 there. I should have a perfect alignment every time. I guess we'll find out pretty soon. So, but the trick to being able to do this now is to get the holes into my actual body blank first before we do it. And of course, I'm going to drill them separate so I can take them apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all these parts. I want to get the center line lined up across all 3 of these parts, the front, the back, and the core. And I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape to stick it together. I'm then going to line this up on the CNC machine one time, get my center line going perfectly straight down the middle, drill my 2 holes, and then I should be able to take it apart, put it on the fixture however I need to, and move forward. And then when I go ahead to glue all 3 of these together, I use those same 3/8 holes. I put dowels in those, and those will keep it aligned as I glue the part together. So anyway, that was probably a very long explanation, but let's get rolling with it, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so that looks really good. That came out really clean. Both the holes did. I'm quite pleased, and I really take my time drilling holes like this, so I don't want that bit to deflect or anything. I want it to make as straight a possible hole all the way through all the layers. And I think it came out pretty good. Nicely lined up there. And nicely lined up there too. I'm quite pleased. Okay, so now, all I need to do is position my body fixture, alignment fixture up against this fence, and that gets it aligned that way. And then I just got to lock it down here. Okay, now that thing is zeroed right there. Now, anything I put on this template, line it up with these 2 pins here, should have the perfect start point for all the tool paths. Okay, so now that we have our alignment fixture made and we've got our holes drilled into our body blank, all 3 parts of the body blank, the first CNC operation I want to do is I want to cut out this pickguard looking shape, which is going to be a recessed piece of Cerakote into this black cherry top. So let me click on these 2 guys right here, and I'll show you. These are the 2 tool paths we're going to run right here. And if I click on this little guy right here, that'll take us to the 3D simulation of us running the tool path. And I'll click on here, Preview Visible Tool Paths, and this will run it for us. So, and that is basically what we're going to wind up with right there. This is going to be the recessed part of this deal here. So, and this shows us exactly what we're going to have. So, anyway, let's go on over to the CNC machine and see if it comes out looking just like this. Okay, so that's the pocket for our inlay on top. I'm just thinking now, after all this time, I'm wondering why I went a 1/4 inch thick with that top. I don't know why. I have no idea. But you can see how it basically V's in, and then it flattens off on the bottom. And now we're going to make the actual inlay out of this piece of Zero Coat, which is a 1/4 inch thick. And I'm going to cut the mirror image, or the reverse image of this, the negative image of this, onto this piece of Zero Coat, and I'm going to leave it about 2/1000ths of an inch short of the bottom of this, which should allow me to really press down hard and get these edges to fit, because this is going in at a V. If I press down hard and I have just a tiny little bit of space under here, that'll give me room for the glue to escape and for this part to press down tight against this V, and hopefully wind up with a really, really clean fit around this edge. So anyway, that is what we're going for. So I got to set this guy up in the CNC machine and get cutting away on it. Okay, so the next operation we have to do for our inlay scratch plate out of the Zero Coat is we now need to cut the piece of Zero Coat that's going to inlay into the recessed hole we just made. So to do that, I copied that shape over to another layer. Okay, right here, we're going to take a look at that right now. Okay, and so I've got it here. And so here you can see this is the reverse image. It's flipped over, and I've got these different tool paths to run. Let me click on these guys here, and we'll check that out. We'll reset preview. Let's preview visible tool paths. So this is what we should have out of that piece of Zero Coat, and that plug should fit right in that piece of black cherry. So let's run it and see what happens. So there it is. I think it came out really nice. Let's get this cut out in the bandsaw and let's see how she fits. Okay, so there's my part. I got a nice clean edge all the way around the thing. Got one little bump in it right there, but I do use that brown glue, so I'm hoping it makes that kind of disappear. Well, I've got a nice fit. So if you look carefully, I'm sticking out of there just a couple thousandths of an inch, very, very little. And that is that void in the bottom that I was talking about that should allow a little bit of room for glue to spread out, and the hydraulic pressure ought to push the glue up and out of the V carve in the thing and push it out. So hoping this was going to come out right, I started getting my glue ready to go, because you know I like to mix this stuff myself. Anyway, we're going to get this thing glued in there, get it clamped in overnight, and tomorrow we'll pop that out of the clamp, run it through the sander, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, well there it is. I took it out of the clamps this morning and I ran it through the sander, and it just came out. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it came out. I mean, there's no way I could have ever done that without using that V carving method. It just came out perfect. So if you understand, with that little bit of gap underneath I was talking about, you got that V that fits, it touches before that little gap is filled. That way you've got an extra space to really put some pressure on that to get those V sides to tighten up against the side of the pocket, and you just get a fit that's unbelievable. So anyway, so we're all set to go. We got all our body parts made up, we've got them drilled out, and we're ready to carry on with the next video. Is going to be the rest of our CNC work on these body parts so we can get her glued together. Anyway, I hope somebody got a little something out of this. I tried to put in a little bit of the computer stuff to show you what I was doing in between. I'll get better at that, I hope, you know, we'll see. But anyway, I appreciate you all sticking around checking out. If you like this sort of thing, how about you give me a like and subscribe. Anyway, hope you all have a wonderful week. God bless you, and we'll see you all in the next one.